Also with us, Eugene O'Donnell, a professor of law and police studies at John Jay College and a former police officer with the New York City Police Department. Sherilyn Ifill, your reaction to what we just saw on video and the indictment today?
Well, you can imagine my reaction to what we saw on video. This is becoming all too familiar as we watch these encounters between police officers and members of the public. And you described it in the opening, that split second where things turn. And I think actually the prosecutor described it actually quite well. It's almost impossible to imagine why this officer would believe that he had to draw his weapon. Everything about the interaction that Officer Tensing has with Samuel DuBose makes very clear that Mr. DuBose is not a threat. He's not armed. He's not dangerous. This is a very calm conversation. There's nothing actually really that's escalating. It's simply a series of questions. And yet, at this moment, when he doesn't comply or want to get out of the car, the officer pulls his weapon and shoots him in the head, and then the car speeds off. The prosecutor in this case, of course, impaneled the grand jury and was able to come forward with an indictment very, very quickly, which I think was critically important. He had obviously seen the video. We've been hearing from others, including the police chief of Cincinnati, who had seen the video, that this was going to be problematic. And I think the prosecutor standing there today and talking about what kind of stop this was, talking about his revulsion when he saw the video, was really important. We, of course, know that an indictment is not the same as a conviction, and so we don't know what will happen to the officer in this case. But I actually think, Lawrence, the issue that I find most really disturbing is the fact that this officer is wearing a camera. He knows he's wearing a camera. The police report says that he believes that it's been captured on his camera, and yet he still tells this story about being dragged by this car. And there are two other officers, Officer Kidd and Officer Lindenschmidt, who also corroborate. One of them, Officer Kidd, says that he saw this Officer Tensing being dragged by the car, which clearly did not happen. So you have three officers who are willing to tell a story that appears in an official document in a police report, despite the fact that they know that there is a camera that's going to show what accurately happened. So we ought to be asking ourselves, why would these police officers do that? Why do they believe that their word, that what they say, even if it is untrue, will somehow trump what is on a video cam? Very disturbing. And then the second issue is about who are these university police? They're patrolling outside the campus in this instance. I know that the college president has now declared that they will only be able to patrol within the campus, but they're outside the campus. What has been their relationship with the Cincinnati Police Department? What kind of training have they received? And what kind of training will they receive going forward?
Barton McCauley, how much attention was this case getting in Cincinnati before today?
Well, Lawrence, it has been getting a ton of attention in all media here because, when we first heard about this case, when we first heard about the shooting, it was immediately turned over, the investigation was immediately turned over to the Cincinnati Police Department. And then in the coming days, in the days following, we were alerted by various leaders in town to say, who've seen the video. They said, well, this is bad. The police chief, the city manager, this is bad. We've seen it. And so we were expecting to see something remarkable. But what we have all seen now in the United States, having seen this videotape, I think we can truly say that, a horrible, horrible tragedy occurred. And a lot of the points that have been made are very on point. I mean, we have various questions about, how policing is done at University of Cincinnati. What can be done to improve policing? And, in fact, we have, the fact is we have another African-American man in this country who's been cut down. And thank God we had the video, because if we had not had that video, who knows what the outcome would have been. We would have been having a very different conversation tonight. It could have been just a simple situation of a police officer doing a great job. So, those are a lot of questions that we're going to have to face in this community, and we're facing them. We're a much better community than we were when we had our unrest and a similar situation in 2001. We've learned a lot from that. We've grown, and it shows tonight. There have been no reported incidents of unrest, of law breaking, etc. We're doing well, but this has truly been a very emotional day in this town, and Joe Dieters, our county prosecutor, really, I think, did the community a service in the way and just the bluntness.
Eugene, before before,
Yes.
I just want you to listen to, and us all to listen to, what Officer Tensing said on the scene immediately after the shooting. Let's listen to this, listen to how it lines up with what we just saw on video. Let's listen.
I think I'm okay. Well, it's pretty simple. He kept reaching around. I told him to step out of the car and get a produce the license. So that's when I put in drive and started taking off. I reached in and I saw one around at him. He took off on me. I got my hand caught in the car. I almost got ran over by him.
Eugene O'Donnell, the last thing we hear is a police officer telling him, don't say anything.
Yeah, it's a very bad set of facts. It is worth saying, and not about this case in particular, but as we get used to these videos, there can be a good faith mistake. Somebody can misstate something that they're involved in that's traumatic. And police shooting research shows for a lot of the cops it's a blur. And so there could be a difference between what they're saying. I'm not at all suggesting that's the case here. But this whole issue, plus the Sandra Bland case, you just wonder, where is the oversight? Where is the rhyme and the reason? Campus police are special purpose police. They're there to do the job on the campus. City policing is completely different than campus policing. And when you have these special purpose police, it's incumbent upon the leadership to tell them, we don't want you getting involved, short of this kind of an ending, just the civil liability issues, just the university being on the hook if something wrong something wrong happens. So, and when you look at the Sandra Bland thing, this trivial car stop, where is the police leadership on this stuff proactively? And you almost wonder whether the camera should be on the decision makers when they're making or failing to make these really important decisions. And you know, you see things like the cop reaching into the vehicle to get the keys. This is a textbook thing you shouldn't be doing. On the other hand, he's a campus police officer. Street police people in big cities would know that. I don't know that a campus police person who probably has very rudimentary training would know that at all. That is a very bad and very dangerous thing. By the way, Cincinnati had a cop killed in 2000 in a remarkably similar situation where he reached in and was dragged 800 feet and killed. So it's a very dangerous textbook thing not to do.
All right, we're going to take a break here. We're going to be back with more. Ryan McCauley and Eugene O'Donnell, thank you for joining us for that segment. We appreciate it. Up next,